In conversation with Joe Sam. Joe Sam is an award-winning television news journalist and published author with over a decade of experience in media broadcasting and journalism. Originally from Louisiana, Joe holds three degrees, a bachelor's in mass communication and two master's degree, one in communications and the other in organizational leadership. Known for his dynamic and passionate storytelling, Joe specializes in entertainment and lifestyle journalism with a particular focus on highlighting the positive stories of minority communities. A proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, INC, the National Society of Leadership and Success, the National Association of Black Journalists, and the Hosting Association of Black Journalists, Joe has earned a reputation for his dedication to both his craft and community. He currently resides in Austin, Texas, where he serves as a multimedia journalist for the historic Texas Southern University. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to offer the show today, Joe Sam. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing excellent. It is amazing. We're heading into the weekend, so it's always a good feeling when we're getting able to relax and do some self-care and self-preservation.
Absolutely. It's so lovely, really, to have you here today. Having seen some of your amazing works on the internet spaces and having read a snippet into your book, I'm excited we're here to sit and talk about it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited about this project. It's been a while that
Wow.
I've been wanting to push this project out and being able to share it on the platform, especially there where you're located at, is amazing. So this is an opportunity that I was definitely looking forward to. So thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
you're traveling far down to West Africa, Nigeria, the
Yes,
giant, the supposed giant of Africa.
yes.
But as a black man, you're traveling far to Africa this afternoon. Thank you so much. So, Joe, I'd like you to tell us about your book, Keeping News from Breaking You, TV Industry Survivor Guide, which I found the description page of it on Amazon. The description is quite amazing to me, and the feedbacks and review you've got on it as well is quite beautiful. But then I'd like to ask you one of the most obvious questions most authors get asked. What inspired you to write this book, and how do you think it addresses the specific challenges faced by journalists in today's media landscape? I think I've got two questions already there.
Yes. I'm looking forward to answer those. I have the book right here. This is the original first copy of the book that came in. It's 9 chapters in the book, and it's about 175-page read. So it's an easy read. And what inspired me to create the book was just my experience dealing with television news and dealing with the industry itself. I've been in the business for over a decade, and I've gone to so many different stations all over. I started out in Monroe, Louisiana, in my
Wow.
hometown of Louisiana, where I was reporting on breaking news, general assignment news, but then I started leading into the anchor space and started anchoring a lot of morning shows where I found out that I had a really great personality that people
Mm.
loved. So they put me on the morning show in a lot of different areas. And from there, I went into reporting on lifestyle and entertainment stories, stories that inspire and motivate and uplift people in the community rather than bringing them down. But
Wow.
the issues that I was having wasn't per se dealing with the communities and telling stories. That's something that I love to do. It was a passion of mine. The issues that I was having was dealing with the station itself and the workplace culture at the station. As you already probably know, TV news is very competitive. Working from different place to place, we're uprooting our entire
Yeah.
lives, and we're moving all over the country to accept a position to be on television and to report in those specific communities. Having to deal with workplace toxicity and managers that are not really conducive to your well-being and your health has
Absolutely.
been extremely hard, not just on myself, but also on other journalists. So I have a lot of colleagues that have reached out to me and asked how can they get to a better place mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, while dealing with a toxic workplace culture. I've been able to learn a lot from my experiences. I have an amazing partner and his mentor, who's also really diverse and well versed on the subject matter, and they were able to guide me through how to manage my well-being as well as my finances when it
Mm.
came to dealing with the toxic workplace environment. And I've been able to use all of those tips and that guidance to help myself, but also to give advice to my colleagues. So instead of being on a phone call for over 3 hours trying to walk my colleagues through the process on how to get severance pay, how to make sure they're being represented fairly within the workplace, I said, I'm going to just go ahead and put all of that advice in the book. So
Wow.
not only my colleagues are able to see it, but every journalist in the industry are able to take a look at this and be able to come out on the brighter side of this environment. Another tidbit that I wanted to mention, that right now in this newscape that we're in, the landscape of the television industry has changed dramatically. A lot of people are losing their jobs.
Mm.
There's a company, Allen Media Company, that just laid off thousands of employees all over the
Wow.
country. So a lot of these media professionals and journalists don't have a job right now. They are looking for work, and it's unfair to them because they uprooted their entire lives to go and work for the station that now decided to lay them off because of issues that they're dealing with. So we're dealing with that, but then we're also dealing with the mental state of a lot of different journalists. A lot of people are having suicidal thoughts because their mental is not in the right place. They're worried about finances. They're
Yeah.
worried about their livelihood. And this book is going to help them get back on track. It's going to help them with their mental state, help them with their finances, and help them get the best representation possible in order to receive the finances and the settlement that they deserve from a lot of these toxic workplaces.
That's quite impressive, really. And I see that you've got a trunk load of
Yes.
inspirations. You've got a trunk load of amazing informations. You've got a trunk load of impactful dealings in the book already. I love your stories around it. I love the stories you've just shared. I love the inspiration behind it. And I like the fact that you have to mention having to deal with workspace toxicity, which I think it's something that we all deal with, irrespective of
Mhm.
the genres or irrespective of the profession we work in. There are always toxicity in one place or the other, having to do with the co-author that's a bit, tipsy, etc. Things like that. And I love the title of the book, Keeping News from Breaking You, TV Industry Survivor Guide, which I think it's something that's quite exceptional, really. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yes, I was thinking about the name, and the name stuck out to me because a lot of times we're told as journalists that we have to be the first to break the story. We have to be the first to break news. And every time when you see the television screen comes on, you see breaking news. But a lot of times you don't think about the journalists and the photographers and the editors and producers who are working hard in order to break the news. So I thought about the title, especially with people dealing with their mental state. And
Wow.
that's why I wanted to say, not only are we out here breaking really important news and giving people really important information, but we have to make sure that we keep news and the television industry from breaking us and from breaking our spirit, breaking our mental, breaking the bank, like a lot of times it does.
Yeah.
So this book is definitely something that's going to be beneficial for not just people in the television industry, but this can relate to people in any industry, in any
Mm.
corporate setting that are dealing with contracts when they come on as a new employee, that are navigating, dealing with a toxic environment, or managers that all of a sudden turn on you and
Mm.
retaliation starts. So the title really was something that I set on for a long time, and it came to me out of nowhere. And I said, you know what? This is what we're going to have to go with, keeping news from breaking you, because I want people to really focus on their health and their well-being
Yeah.
working in the corporate industry.
Absolute, and that's very important, quite important. Now, Joe, in your book, you discuss strategies for navigating toxic workplace environment. Can you share some practical advice you had offer to someone currently working in the newsroom who might be struggling with these issues?
Absolutely. So, in the beginning of the book, the first chapter really sets you up for success. So, it talks about the different markets. There's over 100 different television markets that you have to figure out exactly what's the best
Yeah.
area for you. Of course, we all know the top three markets. Number one market is New York City. Number two
Mm.
comes in with Los Angeles. and then number three, Chicago, and it goes down from there. Houston, Texas, where I'm currently residing, is a top 10 market. Those markets are really competitive. So if you're coming in as a new journalist just graduating from out of college, you want to look for markets that are more suitable for your skills in order for you to build up the skill level and expertise in order to compete on such a high level in a top 10 market. So the first part of the book really sets them up for that. It talks about the market sizes. It talks about finances when it comes to living arrangements in the areas and how much money you'll be spending on bills and how to manage all of that. And it also talks about your contract. That's the biggest
Wow.
part that I want to make sure I reach out. Whenever you receive a contract, typically in the news industry, we get signed on to a 2-year contract. And within that contract, it lists the salary, the benefits, and a lot of different stipulations that comes along with it. One of them is at will employment. That's in the book. It talks about how to make sure when it comes to your at will employment that you set up parameters for that. And a lot of these stations, they can just let you go whenever they decide that the show is not working or there's not another position for you. And you want to make sure that there's writing in there to where you can benefit and you can benefit financially. So if that does happen, you're not an at-will employee to where they can just fire you at any cost. And then another part of the book, I'm not going to give too much of it away,
Yeah.
but another part of the book that we wanted to make sure we mention on this platform is that whenever you're dealing with going into the industry as a new journalist, you also want to make sure that the description, when it lists other duties as assigned, is very detailed. You want to ask your employers, what does that mean? Because some of these duties I may not be experienced or qualified to do. If they ask me to go and fix a light pole outside, that may be listed as other duties as assigned, but I don't know how to fix a light pole. So I need you to list in description what those other duties as assigned are. And when it comes to work-life balance, you want to make sure that you're sticking to the time frame that you agreed to. If my
Yeah.
contract says that I'm going to be anchoring Monday through Friday from this time and I get off at this time, that needs to be what you stick to. Anything additional needs to be paid in compensation or comp time.
Wow.
So I talk a lot about that in the book in order to help incoming journalists and media professionals or anyone in a corporate setting set themselves up for success and make sure that their mental state is legally protected moving forward in their industry and their chosen career.
That's a very good thing. I mean, this is quite exciting. You've written for a particular audience, and even as somebody who is outside the audience, I can still relate to most of the things you're talking about because this is something that's quite applicable in all businesses. Yeah, you want to make sure
Absolutely.
that you're sticking with the timing. You want to make sure that you're not exceeding the time. You want to make sure that the description of the job you're doing is what you're actually sticking to, not
Yes.
somebody bringing out something else and said, "Oh, come on." And I that reminds me of some years in the past when I worked in a particular pharmaceutical company, and the manager was like, "Yeah, Peter, we have some new stuff there. Could you join those other guys?" And I was like, "No, I can't do that. Really, I can't do that." So people perceive me as being arrogant, as being boastful. And I'm like, that's not being arrogant. What I'm assigned to do is different from what you're telling me to do. I don't mind.
Exactly.
No, I can't. I won't. I didn't do it. She was like, "Well." I didn't do it. So the perception, I think it's quite important to know what exactly you're here for, rather than say, okay, this is, it's a very nice one. I can go on and on and on and on and on. It's
And
beautiful.
you have to set your boundaries at the beginning so that they know
Absolutely.
later on down the line. Because if you allow them to do it to you once and they
Do
say,
it
hey, can you come
over and
in
over
on
again.
Saturday and work eight
Yeah.
hours on a Saturday, and you say, okay, I'll go ahead and do it just being a great
Nice.
employee and a great team member, then they'll continue to do that and not pay you for those additional hours that you're working. And the time that you
Over
do decide
again.
to say no, then it's going to make them upset. But if you set those boundaries from the beginning and tell
Yeah.
them and not be afraid to say no,
Yeah.
then they will
Absolutely.
know not to come to you, that they cannot play that type of game when it comes to this employee, because this
Yeah.
employee understands what they're there for. They understand their schedule. They understand work-life balance, and they also want to be treated with professional courtesy and respect, just as well as anyone else would be given. So they need to also be given that personal and professional courtesy and respect when it comes to their work schedule and their work-life balance.
Yeah. That's very impressive, really. I love your take on that. Love your take on that. I relate with it so much, and I agree with it 100%, 199%. Very, very impressive and very, very true. Thank you so much. Now, apart from keeping news from breaking you, TV Industry Survivor Guide, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
Yes, so currently right now, I'm not only working on promoting the book, but I am telling the stories of the historic Texas Southern University, like you mentioned. So we have a lot of different projects that we're doing with that. I actually just finished putting together a really short film documenting and tracking the rehearsals and practice leading up to the big Christmas Day performance that happened on Netflix with Beyonce. So we're doing a lot of those different stories for the university to help with retention and recruitment. As you might have read in my bio, I'm a big advocate when it comes to representing the African American community and the minority communities that I live in, the city that I live in, and pushing out the positivity that all of those communities bring. So being able to work for historic Texas Southern University and HBCU, it has been amazing. So that journey is what I'm also working on, but I'm also just starting work with the city of Houston. So I'll be doing a lot of communications work as their senior communications
Wow.
specialist. So I've always been very well versed whenever it comes to holding multiple positions
Wow.
because I'm able to give out all of that information and experience that they need. And it also helps me when it comes to information in the book again. You want to make sure that you have something, a plan B, just in
Yeah.
case you do decide to leave your toxic workplace environment, that there's something else that you're doing that can support you financially and
Yeah.
make sure that your livelihood doesn't take a hit. So that
Absolutely.
information is also in the book.
Wow. Well, you've got a lot in there, really. A lot that a man should read about, a lot that somebody who is serious with his life should take in. I mean, if somebody is telling you to leave or go, you should have something at the background, something to fall back to, just so you know that you don't have to, feel like, oh, I'm sad they're pushing me away, or makes you feel terrible that okay, they're asking me to go. Can I start begging? No, I won't beg. I will leave gradually. Like you want me to leave because I have something to fall back to. That's quite amazing, really. I love your take on this. This is quite amazing. It's quite awesome, and I
Absolutely.
really enjoyed thoroughly. And before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you if there's anything you'd love to share with the viewers about your book and creative journey that we did not mention in this interview, and you'd love the viewers to know. Also, where can interested viewers get a copy of your book from?
Absolutely. I believe some of the viewers on the call right now, some of them are some amazing supporters of mine. They support everything that I do, and in turn, I make sure that I'm showing up and supporting them. That's one of the things in the book that I want to make sure that everyone also realizes. There's a chapter in there that talks about having support from coworkers. A lot of times you don't mesh well with coworkers. Some coworkers are not out to with your best interest in mind, but
Yeah.
there are some people that may be dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with that can relate, and those people want to help. So it's always good to combine forces whenever you're dealing with the toxic workplace environment. And if you show up as a united front, then management has to take note to that. They have to make sure that they do something about it because it's not just one person that's showing up that's talking about the issues that they're dealing with within the company, but it's multiple people. It's a united front that
Mm.
everyone's saying this is an issue and we need to fix it. Because
Yeah.
if it's just one person, they will paint that person as the problem child. So
Mhm.
I absolutely care
Wow.
about everyone that's on this call that's been supporting me. I see some of my friends and some of my associates, and some of these people are journalists as well. They're in the industry. They're dealing with a lot of the things that we're talking about within the book, and they're learning how to navigate through all of those different obstacles and challenges to be successful. Each person that's in my circle has been very successful when it comes to multimedia journalism, when it comes to the communications industry in total. And they also have a lot of advice to give out. A lot of the information that's in the book, I hear it from my friends, my supporters, and my colleagues. And I was able to put that inside the book for others to take into. So some people already have a copy of the book. If they are looking for a copy of the book, it can be found on Amazon right now. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, I'll be doing a couple of events in Louisiana as well as in Houston, Texas, so that they can receive the copy in person and ask whatever questions that they have regarding the book. Hopefully they've been getting through some of the chapters, and some of the chapters can help them, and if not them, someone that they know that's dealing with some of these issues that we see all too common within the workplace environment.
Interesting. Thank you so much for your deep, educative, inspiring answers to this question. I've been enjoying the conversation so far, and I want to say thank you so much. And I also left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Joy Sam's book directly on Amazon and also on other platforms. I also left a link to his social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Joel, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. And once this is more than awesome. I've learned good time with this conversation. Quite wholesome, quite exciting, and very lovely having this conversation with you around your beautiful title. Thank you so much for gracing the invitation and for coming on.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. And I want to say a thank you to everybody that's been able to take a little time out of their day to hop on this meeting and interview with me as well to listen in. I really, really appreciate all of the support.
That's amazing, really.